We're staying now in Washington to talk about another fight over whether or not to change the filibuster rules in the Senate. The Democrats want it changed, but let's have a listen to what they were saying back in 2005 when they were in the minority.
The checks and balances which have been at the core of this republic are about to be evaporated by the nuclear option. The checks and balances which say that if you get 51% of the vote, you don't get your way 100% of the time. It is amazing. It's almost a temper tantrum.
Mr. President, the right to extended debate is never more important than when one party controls Congress and the White House. In these cases, the filibuster serves as a check on power and preserves our limited government.
Potomac Watch columnist Kim Strassel joins me now to talk about the change of tune from Harry Reid and New York Senator Chuck Schumer. Kim, this is a pretty extraordinary switch. What's changed?
Well, I think what you've got here is you have Harry Reid to put up with all of these Republican antics and blocking all the legislation that he supposedly wants to put through. So he's saying, I'm just going to change the rules myself. I'm going to break the rules to change the rules. Normally, you would need more than 60 senators to change the rules. He's saying he's going to use this other procedure to change the rules with only 50 votes of support to do it. And then going forward, he would not need 60 votes anymore to move on to bills or to close debate.
Okay, so they're in the majority, so they want to change the rules to favor them. They think they can do it. So, Kim, what does Harry Reid want to accomplish if he can get this rule change through?
Well, I mean, I think that that is one of the really unusual aspects of this, which is that Harry Reid is basically now asking for this authority, even though nothing has changed in Washington. So he may be able to pass all kinds of legislation, but it's still going to go back to a Republican House where it's dead in the water. So this is an extraordinary shift and change of what have been, more than 100 years of rules in the Senate for what won't seem to be much value. And he's doing it because he's getting a lot of pressure from a lot of liberal members who feel as though they have been stymied.
How does this play in the rest of the country, Kim? Does this gain Democrats any kind of political points by having this battle right now?
Well, again, I think it's point scoring with a liberal base who wants to see Harry Reid and liberal Democrats in the Senate emancipated to pass more. But I think there's an argument here, Mary. This is interesting. These filibuster rules that we have had in existence, they have been here for decades and decades. And even though we've had them, we have passed some very consequential legislation over the years. So the Reid argument that the Senate has suddenly become dysfunctional because of these rules doesn't hold much water. What has changed, rather, is Harry Reid's management of it. He's been squelching debate. He's been denying Republicans the ability to offer amendments to bills. And in response, Republicans have therefore not been agreeing to go along and move on to bills in the first place. And so there is an argument to be made that the filibuster is not really the problem here. Harry Reid's management of the Senate is.
So how are Republicans reacting to this, Kim?
Well, I think that they're incredibly frustrated, but what are they going to do in the end if he's going to just push ahead and even sort of go against precedent and change the way that you even change these rules and that he will only need 50 votes. They have nothing to stop them. However, there are so many rules and procedures in the Senate, Mary. There are lots of ways for Republicans to throw bombs, even if he goes ahead with the filibuster. And I do think that that is, in a way, what he's setting himself up for, is if you think the Senate is dysfunctional now, try further stripping the minority of its rights and then see what they do in response. We really could have a lot of deadlock.
Kim, is there an argument to be made that Republicans should just say yes and go along with this, and then when they're in the majority, they can enjoy this filibuster-proof chamber?
Well, politically, Mary, I think there's a temptation to do that. And look, I don't know if Harry Reid has considered what he's setting himself up for. If in 4 years' time the Republicans win the White House and they win the Senate, they don't have to worry about Obamacare anymore. They don't have to worry about Dodd-Frank. They can repeal it all with one vote simply by being in the majority. But I do think that there is a more traditionalist view here in the argument that the Senate was historically set up to provide a cooling of passions. It was created that way. It was supposed supposed to be about allowing for more debate, more amendments, giving the public more chance to see what's in bills and legislation, just slowing things down. And if you do this, you're fundamentally changing that architecture, and you're making it much more easy for you to have kind of wild swings in policies when different parties take control.
We're going to have to leave it at that. Potomac Watch columnist Kim Strassel, thank you so much for being with us.